The yellow school bus rolled to a stop in front of Riverside High School, and Maya Johnson pressed her forehead against the cool window. Her stomach twisted into familiar knots. This was the 5th school in 4 years, and she was tired. So tired of being the new girl. So tired of starting over. "You got this, baby girl," her mom had said that morning, adjusting Maya's backpack straps like she was still in elementary school. Just be yourself. But that was the problem, wasn't it? Being herself never seemed to be enough. Maya stepped off the bus and looked up at the massive brick building. Riverside High looked like something out of a movie, the kind where popular kids ruled the hallways and new students were either absorbed into the social hierarchy or crushed by it. The October morning was crisp, and students clustered in groups across the front lawn, laughing and shoving each other playfully. No one looked her way. She adjusted her backpack and walked toward the main entrance, keeping her head up the way Sensei Williams had taught her. "Confidence isn't arrogance, Maya," he'd say during training. "It's knowing who you are even when the world tries to tell you different." Inside, the hallways smelled like floor wax and teenage anxiety. Maya found the main office and picked up her schedule from a tired-looking secretary who barely glanced at her. Locker 247, first period, English literature with Mrs. Patterson. The hallway was a maze of noise and bodies. Students rushed past her, completely absorbed in their own worlds. Maya found her locker and fumbled with the combination. Behind her, she heard laughter, loud and sharp. "Yo, check it out. Fresh meat." Maya didn't turn around. She'd heard variations of that line at every school. "Keep your head down, get through the day, find your people." That was the survival strategy. "I'm talking to you, new girl." She turned slowly. 2 boys stood there, both wearing red and white varsity jackets with a big B on the chest. The taller one had perfectly styled brown hair, and the kind of smile that probably worked on most people. His friend was stockier, with a buzz cut and arms crossed over his chest like a bouncer. "I'm Brandon," the tall one said, that smile never reaching his eyes. "This is Tyler. We run the welcome committee around here." "I'm good, thanks," Maya said quietly, turning back to her locker. "Oh, she's good," Tyler laughed. "Did you hear that? She's good." Brandon stepped closer. Maya could smell his cologne, something expensive and overwhelming. "That's not how things work here, new girl. When we talk to you, you talk back. It's called respect." Maya's jaw tightened. Her sensei's voice echoed in her head. "Control your emotions or they'll control you." She took a slow breath, turned, and looked Brandon directly in the eyes. "My name is Maya." And I did talk back. I said I'm good. For a second, something flickered across Brandon's face. Surprise maybe, or irritation. Tyler's smile faded. The hallway around them seemed to quiet, and Maya realized other students were watching, waiting to see what would happen. Then Brandon laughed, but it sounded forced. "All right, Maya, we'll see you around." They walked away, and the hallway noise resumed. A girl with curly red hair and glasses appeared beside Maya's locker. "That was either really brave or really stupid," the girl said, shoving books into the locker next to Maya's. "I'm Emma, by the way. And those two?" Brandon Miller and Tyler Rodriguez. "They basically run this school, or at least they think they do." "What's their problem?" Maya asked. Emma shrugged. "They're just like that. Brandon's dad is some big-shot lawyer, and Tyler's family owns half the businesses in town. They're used to getting whatever they want. Most people just stay out of their way. And the ones who don't, they have a really bad year," Emma said quietly. "Last year there was this kid, Marcus. He stood up to them once and they made his life miserable. Rumors, social media stuff, getting him blamed for things he didn't do. He transferred out in March." Maya felt that familiar weight settle on her shoulders. She'd seen it before in different schools, different faces, but always the same pattern. Bullies found their targets and everyone else looked away. "Thanks for the warning," Maya said. "No problem. Hey, we have English together first period. Want to walk?" For the first time that morning, Maya smiled. "Yeah, I'd like that." Mrs. Patterson's English class was in the humanities wing, a bright room with posters of famous authors covering the walls. Maya and Emma slipped into seats near the back just as the bell rang. Brandon and Tyler strutted in 30 seconds late, dropping into seats in the middle of the room like they owned the place. Mrs. Patterson glanced at them but said nothing. The morning dragged on. Second period was Algebra 2, where Maya sat alone and solved equations while the teacher droned on. Third period was Chemistry, And she got paired with a quiet boy named David, who seemed relieved to have a lab partner who actually knew what she was doing. Then came lunch. The cafeteria was a social battlefield. Maya grabbed a tray of something that might have been lasagna and looked for a place to sit. She spotted Emma waving from a table near the windows and headed that way. She never saw Tyler's foot shoot out. 1 second Maya was walking, the next she was airborne. Her tray flew from her hands and she hit the floor hard. Lasagna splattered across her shirt. The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Maya lay there for a moment, face burning with humiliation. Every eye in the room was on her. This was it. The moment that would define her place in the social order. Get up crying and she'd be a victim forever. Get up fighting, and she'd be labeled a troublemaker. She got up slowly, wiping lasagna off her shirt.
Tyler was laughing so hard he had tears in his eyes.
Brandon sat next to him, that same cold smile on his face. "Oops," Tyler said. "Didn't see you there, new girl." Maya felt it then, that familiar heat rising from her chest. Her hands curled into fists at her sides. She'd spent 7 years learning how to channel this feeling, how to control it. 7 years of early morning training sessions, of bloody knuckles and bruised shins, of learning that real strength wasn't about hurting people. It was about not hurting them when you easily could. She looked at Tyler, then at Brandon. The entire cafeteria had gone silent, waiting for her reaction. Even the lunch ladies had stopped serving to watch. Maya took a deep breath, uncurled her fists, and walked away. Behind her, Tyler's voice rang out. "That's what I thought." More laughter followed her to the bathroom, where she spent the rest of lunch period cleaning lasagna off her shirt with wet paper towels. Her hands shook, not from fear, but from the effort of holding back. She could have hurt Tyler. One sweep of his legs, maybe a quick strike to his solar plexus, nothing permanent but enough to make him think twice. But that wasn't who she was. That wasn't what Sensei Williams had trained her to be. A black belt is not a weapon, he'd told her during her test last year. It's a responsibility. You wear it because you've proven you can control power, not just use it. Maya stared at herself in the bathroom mirror. Her dark eyes looked tired. Her usually neat cornrows were slightly messy from the fall. She looked like a girl who'd just been humiliated in front of 300 students, but she also looked like a girl who'd walked away from a fight she could have won. Her phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "You okay?" That was awful. "Tyler is such a jerk," Maya typed back. "I'm fine. See you after lunch?" 3 dots appeared, then, "You're tougher than you look." "Yeah, see you in history." Maya smiled at that. Tough. If Emma only knew. She spent the rest of the day keeping her head down, trying to blend in. But everywhere she went, she felt eyes on her. Some looked at her with pity, others with amusement. A few looked at her with what might have been respect. In history class, Mr. Brooks was discussing the civil rights movement. The greatest acts of courage, he said, often look like nothing at all. Walking away from violence, refusing to retaliate, maintaining dignity in the face of hatred. That takes more strength than fighting ever could. Maya caught Emma's eye across the room. Emma gave her a small smile. When the final bell rang, Maya gathered her book slowly, letting the crowd thin out before heading to her locker. The hallways were chaos, everyone desperate to start their weekend. She worked her combination and started packing her bag for the weekend. "Hey," she turned. A boy stood there, tall and athletic with kind eyes. He wore a basketball jersey. "I'm Marcus," he said. "I heard what happened at lunch." That took guts, walking away like that. Not many people would have. Maya blinked. "You're the one who transferred?" "Transferred back, actually." Marcus grinned. "Turns out the grass isn't greener. But I learned some things while I was gone. Mainly that guys like Brandon and Tyler only have power if you give it to them." "So what do?" Maya asked. "You outlast them," Marcus said simply. "You be yourself, find your people, and you don't let them make you into something you're not. It's harder than it sounds, but it's the only way." He walked away, leaving Maya standing at her locker, thinking about his words. She didn't know it then, but in 7 days, she'd find out exactly how hard it was to outlast them. She'd find out what she was really made of, and Brandon and Tyler would find out they'd picked the wrong target. Maya's weekend passed in a blur of unpacking boxes and trying to make her new room feel like home. On Saturday morning, she woke up early out of habit. Her body still expected the 6 a.m. alarm that used to call her to the dojo back in Atlanta. She pulled on sweatpants and went downstairs. Her dad was already up, drinking coffee in his army uniform. He had to report to the base early. "How was your first week, baby girl?" he asked, not looking up from his newspaper. "Fine," Maya lied. She'd gotten good at that over the years. Her dad lowered the paper and studied her with those sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Maya Johnson, I've interrogated enemy combatants who were better liars than you." Maya couldn't help but smile. She poured herself orange juice and sat across from him. "It's just the usual new school stuff, Dad. I'll figure it out." "You always do," he said, reaching across to squeeze her hand. "Your mom and I are proud of you, you know that? All this moving around, it's not easy. But you handle it with grace, that word again." Maya thought about Tyler's foot shooting out, the lasagna on her shirt, the laughter echoing in her ears. "Dad, when you were deployed, did you ever want to just fight back? Like really fight back, even when you knew you shouldn't?" Her father set down his coffee slowly. "Every single day. That's what discipline is, Maya. It's not about never feeling angry or hurt. It's about feeling those things and choosing your response anyway." He paused. "Something happened at school you want to talk about?" Maya shook her head, just thinking out loud. But Monday morning came too fast, and with it a knot of dread in Maya's stomach. Emma met her at her locker before first period, practically bouncing with news. "Oh my God, did you see the messages in the group chat?" "What group chat?" "The junior class chat. Someone posted about you. Well, not about you exactly, but..." Emma's voice trailed off as she showed Maya her phone. The message was simple. "New girl thinks she's better than everyone. Let's show her how things work at Riverside." It had 43 likes. Maya's chest tightened, but she forced her face to stay neutral. "Who posted it?" "It's anonymous, but come on. We all know it's Brandon or one of his friends." Emma looked worried. "Maya, maybe you should talk to a teacher or something." "This is how it started with Marcus last year." "And what did the teachers do for Marcus?" Maya asked quietly. Emma's silence was answer enough. The day was worse than Friday. In first period, someone had written "loser" on her desk in permanent marker. Mrs. Patterson didn't notice or pretended not to. During second period, Tyler accidentally knocked her calculator off her desk and it shattered on the floor. The teacher made her clean it up. At lunch, no one tripped her this time. Something worse happened. Maya sat with Emma and a few other kids who seemed decent enough. A boy named James who was into comic books and a quiet girl named Sophie. They were in the middle of talking about an upcoming school dance when Brandon appeared at their table. He slammed his lunch tray down next to Maya's. "Mind if I sit?" he asked, but he was already sitting. The table went silent. Emma's eyes widened. James suddenly found his sandwich very interesting. "You know, Maya, I've been thinking about Friday," Brandon said conversationally, like they were old friends. "I think we got off on the wrong foot. Maybe you're not so bad. Maybe you just need the right people to show you around." Maya felt everyone watching. This was a test, she realized. Say yes and she'd be under his control. Say no, and things would get worse. "I'm good," she said, echoing her words from their first meeting. Brandon's smile hardened. "See, that's your problem. You think you're too good for people, too good to be friendly, too good to fit in." He leaned closer and his voice dropped low enough that only their table could hear. "Let me tell you something about this school, new girl. People who don't learn to play nice, they don't last long." Tyler appeared behind Brandon, holding his phone up. He was recording. "What's wrong, Maya?" Tyler called out loudly, making sure other tables could hear. "Brandon's trying to be nice and you're being rude. Maybe you're the bully here." Maya's heart pounded. This was calculated, practiced. They'd done this before. Film a confrontation, edit it to make themselves look like victims, spread it around school. She'd seen it happen at her last school to a boy who dared to report a senior for stealing. "I'm not being rude," Maya said carefully, aware of the phone. "I'm just eating lunch with my friends." "Friends?" Brandon looked around the table. "James, you guys are friends with her?" James looked down. Sophie started gathering her things. Emma stayed frozen, caught between loyalty and fear. "That's what I thought," Brandon said. He stood up, grabbing his tray. "Come on, Tyler, let's leave the new girl alone with her friends." They walked away laughing and Tyler called out, "Check your socials tonight, Maya. You're about to be famous." As soon as they were gone, Sophie mumbled an excuse and left. James followed 30 seconds later. Only Emma remained. "I'm sorry," Emma whispered. "They're just scary," Maya finished. "I know, it's okay, but it wasn't okay." Maya's hands trembled as she tried to eat her sandwich. She wanted to scream. to flip the table, to chase Brandon down and show him exactly what a third-degree black belt could do to his perfect smile. Instead, she took slow breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth, control. That night, the video appeared. Tyler had edited it perfectly. It started with Brandon's friendly greeting, cut to Maya's cold responses, and ended with her sitting alone at the table. The caption read, "New girl 2 stuck up to make friends. Riverside doesn't need this attitude." It had 200 shares by bedtime. Maya's phone buzzed with messages from numbers she didn't recognize. "Go back where you came from. Nobody wants you here. Stuck up much?" She blocked them, but more kept coming. Finally, she turned off her phone and lay in the dark, staring at her ceiling. On her wall hung her karate belt display, each color representing years of work. White, yellow, orange, green, blue, purple, brown, and finally black. She'd earned that black belt by learning control. By proving she could take a hit and not retaliate. By showing discipline when everything in her wanted to lash out. But this was different. This wasn't sparring in a controlled environment with rules and referees. This was real life, and it was messy and unfair, and the bad guys were winning. Her phone buzzed again. Despite herself, she checked it. It was Emma. "I'm sorry I froze today. You're actually really cool and they're wrong about you. Want to meet before school tomorrow?" "I'll walk with you," Maya typed back. "Thanks, Emma. Yeah, that would be nice." Then another message, this one from Marcus. "Don't read the comments, Maya. Trust me. I made that mistake last year. They want you to break. Don't give them that." Maya set her phone down and closed her eyes. Tuesday would come whether she was ready or not. And Wednesday. And Thursday. The year stretched ahead like an endless hallway with Brandon and Tyler waiting around every corner. She thought about her sensei, thousands of miles away in Atlanta. What would he say if he could see her now? Probably something about character being built in hard times. About the difference between winning a fight and winning at life. But right now, in the dark, it just felt like losing. Downstairs, she heard her parents talking in low voices. She caught her name, heard her mother's worried tone. They'd seen the video. Of course they had. Probably half the town had seen it by now. Maya pulled her blanket up to her chin and tried to sleep. Tomorrow she'd face them again. And the day after that, and the day after that. What she didn't know was that she only had 3 more days before everything changed. 3 more days before Brandon and Tyler would make their biggest mistake. 3 more days before that, locker. Wednesday morning felt different. Maya woke up to find her social media flooded with new comments. Someone had created a fake account using her name and posted embarrassing things she'd never said. By the time she got to school, half the junior class thought she'd called them all small-town nobodies. Emma was waiting by the front steps, just like she'd promised. But her smile looked forced. "Don't look at the bulletin board," Emma said immediately. Of course, Maya looked. Someone had printed out screenshots from the fake account and plastered them across the main hallway bulletin board. In big letters across the top, Maya's true feelings about Riverside. Maya's stomach dropped. Students walking past stared at her, whispering. Some laughed. Others just shook their heads with disgust. "I didn't write any of that," Maya said quietly. "I know," Emma replied. "Anyone with half a brain knows, but it didn't matter what was true. It mattered what people believed." Maya walked to her locker on autopilot. Her hands shook as she worked the combination. Someone had stuffed notes through the vents. She pulled them out, already knowing what they'd say. "Leave our school. Nobody likes fake people. You're pathetic." She crumpled them and shoved them in her backpack. Behind her, she heard Tyler's voice. "Wow, looks like the truth hurts, doesn't it?" Maya didn't turn around. She grabbed her English books and slammed her locker shut. In Mrs. Patterson's class, the teacher announced they'd be doing group presentations. Maya's heart sank when she realized no one would make eye contact with her. Even the nice kids who'd smiled at her last week suddenly found their desks fascinating. "Maya, you'll be with." Mrs. Patterson scanned the room. Every group was already formed. "You can work alone, I suppose." Alone. The word hung in the air like a verdict. At lunch, Maya didn't even bother going to the cafeteria. She found an empty classroom and ate her sandwich in silence, scrolling through her phone. The fake account was still active, still posting. She'd reported it 3 times, but nothing happened. Her real account had lost the few followers she'd gained. She'd been tagged in dozens of cruel memes. One showed her face photoshopped onto a donkey with the caption, "When you're too good for everyone." Maya deleted Instagram, then Twitter, then everything except her messages. Her phone buzzed. It was Marcus. "Hey, I heard about the fake account. That's their playbook. They did the same thing to me. Just remember, this isn't forever. It feels like it, but it's not." Maya typed back, "How long did it take for you?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "I left before it ended, but you're stronger than me, I can tell." Was she, though? Right now, Maya didn't feel strong. She felt tired. So incredibly tired. Thursday was worse. Someone had hacked her school email and sent a mass message to the entire junior class, claiming she'd been expelled from her last school for fighting. By third period, even the teachers were looking at her differently. In chemistry, Mr. Rodriguez assigned lab partners. When Maya sat down next to her assigned partner, a girl named Jessica, Jessica immediately raised her hand. "Mr. Rodriguez? Can I work alone? I don't feel safe." The words hit Maya like a physical blow. Don't feel safe. As if Maya was dangerous, as if she'd ever hurt anyone. "That's fine, Jessica," Mr. Rodriguez said, not even questioning it. He looked at Maya. "You can observe today." Observe. Code for sit in the corner and be invisible. Maya made it through the rest of the day by pretending she was somewhere else. She imagined she was back in Atlanta in the dojo, with Sensei Williams calling out combinations. Front kick, roundhouse, back fist. Simple, clear, fair. After school, she stayed late in the library, not wanting to face the bus ride home. She sat in the back corner trying to focus on homework, but the words blurred on the page. "They're breaking you." Maya looked up. Marcus stood there, backpack slung over one shoulder. "I can see it," he continued, sitting down across from her. "That look in your eyes, I had the same look last year, like you're not sure how much more you can take." "I'm fine," Maya said automatically. "No, you're not. And that's okay. What they're doing, it's not normal. It's not something you should just handle on your own." Marcus leaned forward. "Have you told anyone? Your parents, a counselor?" "And say what? That some kids are being mean to me? That they posted fake stuff online?" Maya shook her head. "Everyone will just say ignore it, or that I'm being too sensitive, or that kids will be kids." "Yeah," Marcus said quietly. "That's what they told me too." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside the library windows, the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. "Can I tell you something?" Marcus asked. "Something I wish someone had told me?" Maya nodded. "It's not weakness to ask for help. I thought if I could just tough it out, just be strong enough, they'd eventually get bored and stop. But people like Brandon and Tyler don't stop. They escalate. They keep pushing until something breaks." He paused. "Don't let that something be you." After Marcus left, Maya sat alone until the librarian announced closing time. She walked through the empty hallways toward the exit, her footsteps echoing off the lockers. That's when she saw them. Brandon and Tyler stood by the gym entrance talking to 2 other guys from the football team. They were laughing about something, completely carefree, like they hadn't spent the week systematically destroying someone's life. Maya felt something crack inside her chest. 7 years of training. 7 years of learning control, discipline, respect. 7 years of being told that violence was always the wrong answer, that walking away was strength, that character mattered more than reputation. But what good was character when everyone thought you were a monster anyway? What good was walking away when they just came after you harder? What good was being strong when being strong meant being alone? Maya's hands curled into fists. She knew exactly where to strike. Solar plexus to knock the wind out, sweep the legs to drop them. Nothing permanent, nothing that would really hurt them, just enough to make them understand that she wasn't weak, that she wasn't a victim, that she could fight back. She took 3 steps toward them, then stopped. No, not like this. Not because she was afraid of them, but because she was afraid of herself, afraid that once she started, she wouldn't stop, afraid that she'd prove them right, that she was violent, that she was dangerous. Maya turned and walked away, tears streaming down her face. She made it to the parking lot before her legs gave out. She sat on the curb and cried harder than she'd cried in years, all the frustration and hurt and loneliness pouring out of her. Her phone buzzed. Her mom. "Where are you, baby? It's getting dark." Maya wiped her face and stood up. Tomorrow was Friday. One more day, and then the weekend. She could make it one more day. She had no idea that tomorrow Brandon and Tyler would stop playing games. Tomorrow they'd make their move, and that old oversized locker in the abandoned hallway would become her prison. Friday morning, Maya almost didn't get out of bed. But her father knocked on her door at 6:30, already in uniform. "Soldier up, Maya," he called through the door. "Johnsons don't quit." So she got up. She got dressed. She went to school. Emma met her at her locker with a worried expression. "Brandon and Tyler have been whispering about something all morning. I don't know what, but Maya, maybe you should just stay homesick, tell your parents you don't feel well." "I'm not running away," Maya said, though her voice shook slightly. "It's not running away, it's being smart. They're planning something, I can feel it." But Maya had already spent the week running. Running from confrontation, running from standing up for herself, running from everything she'd been taught to be. "Not today. I'll be okay," Maya told Emma, though she didn't quite believe it herself. She didn't know how wrong she was. She didn't know that in 9 hours, she'd be locked in darkness. She didn't know that the next 12 hours would test everything she thought she knew about strength. The morning crawled by in a haze of whispers and sideways glances. By lunch, Maya's nerves were frayed. She went to her locker to drop off her books before heading to the library again. That's when she heard footsteps behind her, fast footsteps. Maya turned, but she was too late. The hands grabbed her from behind so fast that Maya barely had time to react. Her training kicked in instinctively. She started to pivot, to drop her weight, to execute a basic escape technique that Sensei Williams had drilled into her 1,000 times. But there were 3 of them. Brandon grabbed her right arm while Tyler seized her left. A third person, one of the football players whose name she didn't even know, shoved her hard from behind. Maya's backpack slipped from her shoulders and hit the floor with a thud. "What are you?" She started to shout, but Tyler clamped a hand over her mouth. "Shut up," he hissed in her ear. "Nobody's around to hear you anyway. Coach dismissed practice early. Halls are empty." They dragged her down the corridor, away from the main building. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. She tried to plant her feet, tried to remember her training, but panic was flooding her system. This wasn't a controlled sparring match. This was real. They turned into the old hallway near the original gymnasium, a section of school that had been built in the 1960s and barely used anymore. The lockers here were different, bigger and deeper than the modern ones. Relics from when students actually stored gym equipment inside them. Brandon forced her toward locker 127. The door hung open like a waiting mouth. "Please," Maya said, her voice coming out smaller than she wanted. "Don't do this." "Should have thought about that before you came here acting like you're better than everyone," Brandon said. His voice was cold, matter of fact, like he was explaining a math problem. "You need to learn your place. We're just going to help you cool off for a while," Tyler added with a grin. "Give you some time to think about your attitude." The third boy said nothing. He just held the locker door open, looking uncomfortable but not uncomfortable enough to stop this. Maya's mind raced. She could fight. She knew she could. A elbow strike to Brandon's ribs, a stomp on Tyler's instep, twist free and run. She'd practiced these combinations hundreds of times. But then what? She'd hurt them, get expelled for fighting, prove everyone right about her being violent. Her dad would be disappointed. Sensei Williams would be disappointed. Everything she'd worked for, gone. "You don't have to do this," Maya tried one more time. "Whatever I did, I'm sorry. I'll apologize to everyone. I'll transfer schools. Just please." "Too late for that," Brandon said. They shoved her inside. The locker was barely big enough for Maya to fit. She had to bend her knees, tuck her head down. The metal pressed against her on all sides, cold and unforgiving. Her backpack was somewhere on the floor outside. Her phone was in that backpack. "Have a nice weekend, Maya." Tyler's voice echoed from outside. "Maybe by Monday you'll understand how things work around here." "Wait." Maya shouted. You can't just leave me. The door slammed shut. Darkness swallowed her whole. She heard them jamming something into the lock. Metal scraping against metal. Then footsteps walking away. Then laughter fading down the hallway. Then nothing. Complete absolute silence. Maya's breathing came fast and shallow. Her chest felt tight. The darkness was so thick it seemed to have weight, pressing down on her from all sides. She pushed against the door, but it didn't budge.
The lock was jammed tight. Help!
She screamed. Somebody help me! Her voice echoed inside the metal box, bouncing back at her. She screamed again. And again. Until her throat was raw and her voice cracked. No one came. Maya's phone. She needed her phone. But it was in her backpack on the floor outside. She patted her pockets desperately. Empty. Nothing. Not even a piece of gum or a hair tie. Just her, alone in the dark. Panic clawed at her throat. The walls seemed to be closing in, even though she knew that was impossible. Her heart raced so fast she thought it might explode. Sweat beaded on her forehead despite the cold metal pressing against her skin. She was going to die here. They'd find her on Monday or maybe Tuesday, curled up in this locker like some forgotten gym shoe. Her parents would get a call. There would be an investigation. Brandon and Tyler would probably get suspended, maybe expelled, but she'd still be dead. No, Maya whispered to herself. No, stop it. Stop thinking like that. She forced herself to take a breath, then another. Sensei Williams' voice echoed in her memory. In karate, we practice kata not just to learn movements, but to learn breathing. Control your breath, you control your mind. Control your mind, you control your fear. In through the nose. Hold for 4 counts. Out through the mouth. Hold for 4 counts. The panic ebbed slightly. Not gone, but manageable. Maya tried to assess her situation logically. It was Friday afternoon. School would be closed all weekend. The custodians might come by, but this hallway was barely used. They might not check it. Her parents would report her missing, but would anyone think to look in an old locker? She had maybe half a water bottle's worth of saliva in her mouth. No food. The temperature was already dropping as the school's heating system shut down for the weekend. In a few hours it would be cold. Really cold. October nights in this part of the country could dip below freezing. Maya felt around the inside of the locker with her hands. Smooth metal on all sides except for the vents near the top. Thin slits that let in air but no light. She tried pushing against the door again, using her legs this time. Nothing. The lock held firm. She tried to find a position that wasn't completely uncomfortable. Impossible. The locker was too small. Her legs were already cramping from being bent. Her neck ached from holding her head at an angle. 1 hour passed. Maybe 2. Maya had no way to tell time in the darkness. She drifted in and out of a strange state between sleeping and waking. Every time she dozed off, she'd jerk awake, momentarily forgetting where she was, and the panic would crash over her again. She thought about her family. Her mom, who made pancakes every Saturday morning. Her dad, who'd taught her to tie her shoes using the bunny ears method when she was 5. Her little brother Junior, only 8 years old, who thought his big sister was the coolest person in the world. Would she ever see them again? Maya's throat was already getting dry. She tried to produce saliva, but her mouth felt like cotton. The water bottle in her backpack might as well have been on Mars. She started talking to herself just to hear a voice. You're Maya Johnson. You're 16 years old. You're a 3rd-degree black belt. You've survived moves to 5 different schools. You've survived your dad's deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. You can survive this, but could she? Really, the temperature continued to drop. Maya tucked her hands under her arms, trying to stay warm. She did isometric exercises, tensing and releasing her muscles to generate body heat. It helped a little. She thought about her training. All those early mornings in the dojo. The smell of the mats. The sound of Sensei Williams's voice calling out combinations. Front kick, roundhouse kick, back fist, reverse punch. She'd done those movements so many times her body could perform them in her sleep. She started doing kata in her mind, visualizing each movement perfectly. It gave her something to focus on besides the darkness and the cold and the fear. Heian Shoten, 21 movements. She performed each one mentally, seeing herself in the dojo wearing her gi, her black belt tied properly around her waist. Then Heian Nidan, Heian Sandan. She worked through all 5 Heian kata, then moved on to Teki Shoten. It helped. The fear receded into the background, Still there, but not overwhelming. This was just another test, she told herself. Harder than the one for her black belt, sure, but still just a test. She must have dozed off again because she woke with a start to the sound of footsteps. Hope exploded in her chest. "Help!" she screamed, banging on the inside of the locker. "I'm in here, help!" The footsteps came closer, stopped right outside. Maya held her breath. Then they moved on. Whoever it was hadn't hurt her. Or maybe they had and didn't care. Maybe they thought it was just the building settling. Or their imagination. Maya screamed again anyway, banging until her hands were bruised. The footsteps faded away. Silence returned, heavier than before. That's when Maya started to cry. Not the angry tears from yesterday, but something deeper. Hopeless tears. Scared tears. The kind of tears that came from realizing that maybe, just maybe, no one was coming to save her. She cried until she had no tears left, until her body was just making dry, hiccuping sounds. Then she stopped and sat in the darkness, numb. Hours passed. Maya's stomach started to hurt from hunger. Her headache got worse. The cramping in her legs became constant pain. She tried different positions, but everything hurt now. She thought about Brandon and Tyler, probably at home having dinner with their families, laughing about what they'd done. Maybe they'd even forgotten about her already. Maybe this was just another Friday night for them. Did they know she could die in here? Did they care? Maya remembered her sensei's words from her black belt test. The belt is not just a symbol of what you can do to others. It's a symbol of what you will not do, even when you could. She had walked away from every confrontation. She had shown restraint. She had proven her character, and this was where it got her. Locked in a box, alone in the dark, possibly dying. "I did everything right," she whispered to no one. "I followed all the rules. I was strong. I walked away." The darkness didn't answer. Maya closed her eyes, though it made no difference in the pitch black, and tried to conserve her energy. If she was going to survive until someone found her, she needed to stay calm. Stay focused. She went back to her kata, performing them mentally over and over. Outside, night fell over Riverside High School. The building settled into silence, and Maya waited in the darkness, counting her breaths, performing her forms and trying desperately not to give up hope. Time became meaningless in the darkness. Maya couldn't tell if she'd been in the locker for 5 hours or 15. Her phone was gone. Her sense of the world outside had shrunk to this metal box and the sound of her own breathing. The cold was the worst part now. It had crept in slowly at first, but now it felt like icy fingers reaching into her bones. Maya's teeth chattered uncontrollably. She'd taken off her hoodie and wrapped it around her legs, but it barely helped. The metal walls of the locker seemed to suck the warmth right out of her body. Her stomach had stopped growling hours ago. Now it just ached, a constant hollow pain that made her feel sick and dizzy, but the thirst was worse. Her lips were cracked and dry. Her tongue felt swollen. Every time she swallowed, it hurt. Maya tried to remember everything Sensei Williams had taught her about survival. She'd taken a self-defense seminar once where they'd talked about emergency situations. Stay calm, conserve energy, don't panic, keep your mind active. So she told herself stories. She remembered her first day at the dojo 7 years ago. She'd been 9 years old and terrified. A girl at her elementary school had been bullying her for weeks, calling her names, pushing her on the playground. Maya's dad had suggested karate. "It's not about fighting back," he'd said on the drive there. "It's about confidence, about knowing you're strong, even when the world tries to tell you you're not." Sensei Williams had been kind but firm that first day. "You'll learn to punch and kick," he'd told the beginner class. "But more importantly, you'll learn when not to. Anyone can throw a fist. A true martial artist knows that real strength is in here." He'd tapped his temple, and here. He'd placed his hand over his heart. Maya had trained 6 days a week for 7 years, through moves and school changes, through her dad's deployments, through broken toes and sprained wrists and countless bruises. She'd earned every single belt through sweat and determination, and now here she was, unable to use any of it. Her mind started playing tricks on her. In the complete darkness, she began seeing things that weren't there. Flashes of light that disappeared when she tried to focus on them. Shapes moving in the corners of her vision, except there were no corners, just endless black. She heard voices, too. Her mother calling her name. Junior laughing at something on TV. Sensei Williams counting out push-ups. But when she strained to listen, there was only silence. "I'm hallucinating," Maya whispered to herself. That's okay. That's normal. Sensory deprivation. I learned about this in biology. My brain is trying to create input because there isn't any. Knowing what was happening didn't make it less terrifying. She tried doing mental math to stay focused. Count by sevens. 7, 14, 21, 28. It worked for a while, but eventually the numbers just blurred together. She recited poetry she'd memorized for English class. Maya Angelou's Still I Rise. The words felt powerful in the darkness. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. But would she rise from this? Or would this locker become her tomb? Maya's thoughts turned dark. She imagined her funeral. Her mother crying. Her father standing stiff and stoic in his uniform, refusing to break down. Junior not really understanding why his sister wasn't coming home. She imagined Brandon and Tyler at school on Monday, pretending to be shocked when they found out. Acting innocent. Maybe they'd even get away with it. Maybe they'd say it was just a prank gone wrong. Maybe people would believe them. No, Maya said out loud. Her voice was hoarse, barely a croak. Stop it, stop thinking like that. You're not dead. You're still here. You're still fighting. But was she? Or was she just slowly giving up, degree by degree, as the cold and hunger and thirst took their toll? Maya forced herself to move, even though every muscle screamed in protest. She did isometric exercises again, tensing and releasing. Push against the walls, squeeze, release. It generated a tiny bit of warmth and kept her blood flowing. She thought about Emma. Sweet Emma, who'd tried to be her friend even when it wasn't the popular choice. Had Emma noticed Maya was missing? Had she tried calling? Maya's phone was probably dead by now anyway, sitting in her backpack on the floor outside. She thought about Marcus. He'd survived a year of Brandon and Tyler's torture. He'd transferred away but came back. He was stronger than Maya had given him credit for. If she got out of here, she'd tell him that when she got out, not if. Maya started talking to herself again just to hear a voice. My name is Maya Johnson. I live at 247 Maple Street. My phone number is... She recited every fact about herself she could think of, grounding herself. Proving she still existed. She told herself about her favorite memories. The time her dad came home from deployment early and surprised them at Junior's birthday party. The time she won her first karate tournament, and Sensei Williams had picked her up and spun her around. The time her mom had stayed up all night helping her with a science project, both of them laughing deliriously at 3 a.m. about papier-mâché volcanoes. Good memories. Happy memories. Proof that life was worth fighting for. The hallucinations got worse. Maya saw her grandmother, who died 3 years ago, standing in front of her. She looked so real, Maya reached out to touch her, forgetting there was a metal wall in the way. Her hand hit steel and the image vanished. She heard music that wasn't there. The theme song from Junior's favorite cartoon. A song that had been playing at the school dance last week. Her mom humming while making breakfast. You're losing it, Maya told herself. Hold on, just hold on a little longer. But how much longer? It had to be Saturday by now. Maybe Saturday night. Which meant at least another day and a half before school reopened on Monday. Could she last that long? Her body was shutting down. She could feel it. The cold had settled deep into her core. Her hands and feet were numb. Her thinking was getting foggy, sluggish. She'd learned about hypothermia in health class. This was how it started. Maya tried to remember the symptoms: confusion, drowsiness, slurred speech. The dangerous thing about hypothermia was that it made you want to sleep. But if you fell asleep in the cold, you might not wake up. Stay awake, she commanded herself. Don't sleep. Don't you dare sleep, but she was so tired. More tired than she'd ever been in her life. Even more tired than after her black belt test, which had lasted 4 hours and left her unable to walk the next day. Her eyes drifted closed. Just for a minute. Just to rest them. She jerked awake, heart pounding. How long had she been out? Seconds? Minutes? Hours? Help! She screamed, though her voice was barely a whisper now. Somebody help me. Nothing. No one. Maya's mind drifted to Sensei Williams again. His favorite saying, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. But what if you couldn't stand up anymore? What if the 8th time you just didn't have it in you? She thought about her black belt test. The final challenge had been a mental one. Sensei Williams had made her sit in meditation for 30 minutes. while he and the other instructors walked around the dojo, making noise, trying to break her concentration. The point wasn't to block out the distractions. It was to acknowledge them and let them pass without giving them power. Maya tried that now. She acknowledged the cold, the hunger, the thirst, the pain, the fear. She let herself feel all of it, but she didn't let it control her. "I am more than this moment," she whispered. "I am more than what's happening to me. I am Maya Johnson and I am still here." Somewhere in the building, she heard a sound. Distant, faint, maybe real, maybe another hallucination. She couldn't tell anymore. She screamed anyway, or tried to. What came out was barely a croak. The sound faded away. Maya slumped in the locker, her body finally giving in to exhaustion. She thought about giving up. It would be so easy. Just close her eyes and let go. Stop fighting. Stop hurting. But then she thought about Brandon and Tyler winning. She thought about them walking around school unpunished, free to do this to someone else. She thought about all the Maya Johnsons and Marcuses out there, kids who were bullied and broken and made to feel small. "No," Maya said. Her voice was weak, but it was there. "Not like this. I'm not giving them this." She straightened up as much as she could in the cramped space. She took a breath deep and steady, the way Sensei Williams had taught her, and she waited, because that's what survivors did. They endured. They held on. They waited for their moment. And somehow, impossibly, Maya knew her moment would come. She just had to stay alive long enough to see it. Sunday morning light filtered weakly through the high windows of Riverside High School. Emma Chen hadn't slept all weekend. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. Maya hadn't answered a single text since Friday afternoon. Her social media had gone silent. Emma had called 17 times. Nothing. Maya's mom had called Emma's house Saturday night, voice tight with worry, asking if Emma knew where Maya might be. She didn't. But she had a terrible feeling she knew who did. "Dad, please," Emma begged Sunday morning. "Something's wrong, I know it. We have to check the school." Her father, a quiet man who ran the local hardware store, looked at his daughter's face and saw genuine fear. "Okay, get your coat." They drove to Riverside High in silence. Emma's hands twisted in her lap. The school looked dead, abandoned. Just a big empty building waiting for Monday. Her dad spoke to the weekend security guard, Mr. Peterson, who reluctantly unlocked the main entrance. "Nothing's going to be here, kid," Mr. Peterson said. "We checked the whole building Friday night." "Please," Emma said. "Just let me look." She walked the hallways with her father close behind. The main building was empty. The new gymnasium was locked tight. But there was one place nobody ever checked. The old hallway near the original gym. Emma's footsteps echoed as she turned down the corridor. The lights here were dimmer, half of them burned out. Old lockers lined both walls, most of them unused for years. Then she heard it, a sound so faint she almost missed it. A soft tapping, weak and irregular. "Maya," Emma called out. The tapping got faster, more desperate. "Maya!" Emma ran down the hallway following the sound. "Where are you?" The tapping came from locker 127. Emma grabbed the handle and pulled. Locked. Something was jammed in the mechanism. "Dad, help me!" Her father ran over with Mr. Peterson. They pulled at the locker door, but whatever Brandon and Tyler had used to jam it held firm. "Stand back," Mr. Peterson said. He radioed for bolt cutters, his face pale. "Someone's actually in there." "How long?" Emma's father asked, his voice shaking. Emma felt sick. "Since Friday afternoon. That's almost 40 hours. It took 15 minutes for Mr. Peterson to return with tools. 15 minutes of Emma talking to the locker, telling Maya to hold on. That help was here. The tapping had stopped. There was no sound from inside at all. Finally, with the screech of metal on metal, they broke the lock. The door swung open. Maya tumbled out and collapsed on the floor. Emma screamed. Her father caught Maya before her head hit the ground. Maya's lips were cracked and bleeding. Her skin was gray, cold to the touch. Her eyes were half open but unfocused, seeing nothing. "Maya?" Emma called out. The tapping got faster, more desperate. "Maya!" Emma ran down the hallway following the sound. "Where are you?" The tapping came from locker 127. Emma grabbed the handle and pulled. Locked. Something was jammed in the mechanism. "Dad, help me!" Her father ran over with Mr. Peterson. They pulled at the locker door, but whatever Brandon and Tyler had used to jam it held firm. "Stand back," Mr. Peterson said. He radioed for bolt cutters, his face pale. Someone's actually in there? How long? Emma's father asked, his voice shaking. Emma felt sick. Since Friday afternoon. That's almost 40 hours. It took 15 minutes for Mr. Peterson to return with tools. 15 minutes of Emma talking to the locker, telling Maya to hold on, that help was here. The tapping had stopped. There was no sound from inside at all. Finally, with the screech of metal on metal, they broke the lock. The door swung open. Maya tumbled out and collapsed on the floor. Emma screamed. Her father caught Maya before her head hit the ground. Maya's lips were cracked and bleeding. Her skin was gray, cold to the touch. Her eyes were half open but unfocused, seeing nothing. Call 911. Emma's father shouted, now! Mr. Peterson was already on his radio, calling for emergency services, his voice cracking with panic. Emma knelt beside Maya, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't find you sooner. Please be okay. Please. Maya's lips moved, forming words without sound. Emma leaned closer. Still. Here. Maya whispered. Still. Standing. The ambulance arrived in 7 minutes. Paramedics rushed in with a stretcher and emergency equipment. They wrapped Maya in heated blankets, started an IV, checked her vitals with grim expressions. Severe dehydration, one paramedic said. Possible hypothermia. We need to get her to County General immediately. Emma rode in her father's car behind the ambulance, watching its lights flash red and white through her tears. At the hospital, Maya's parents burst through the emergency room doors. Her mother's face was a mask of terror. Her father, still in his army uniform, looked like he was barely holding himself together. Where is she? Maya's mother demanded. Where's my baby? A doctor led them to a room where Maya lay hooked up to monitors and IVs. She was unconscious, her breathing shallow. The doctor explained the situation in calm clinical terms. Dehydration, hypothermia, extreme stress on her system. They'd know more in a few hours. Emma stood in the hallway with her father, feeling like she might throw up. Mr. Peterson had called the police. They were at the school now, investigating. They'd found Maya's backpack on the floor outside the locker. Her phone was dead, but they'd charge it, check her messages, piece together what happened. But Emma already knew what happened. She'd watched it build all week. She'd seen Brandon and Tyler's cruelty escalate, and she'd been too scared to do anything about it. This is my fault, Emma whispered. Her father pulled her close. No, this is the fault of whoever did this to her. Nobody else. 2 hours later, Maya opened her eyes. The hospital room came into focus slowly. White walls. Beeping monitors. Her mother sitting beside the bed, holding her hand, crying silently. Her father standing by the window, his jaw clenched tight. Mom! Maya's voice was a rasp. Her mother's head snapped up. Oh, thank God. Thank God you're okay. She pressed the call button for the nurse, then turned back to Maya. Don't try to talk, baby. You need to rest, but Maya had something to say, something that had crystallized during those long hours in the darkness. I want to press charges, she whispered, against Brandon Miller and Tyler Rodriguez. I want them held accountable. Her father turned from the window, and for the first time since she'd woken up, Maya saw tears on his face. He crossed the room and knelt beside her bed. That's my girl, he said, his voice thick with emotion. That's my strong girl. The police came that afternoon. Detective Sarah Martinez, a woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense attitude, took Maya's statement. Every detail. The week of escalating bullying. The fake social media accounts. The confrontation on Friday. Being grabbed and locked in the locker. Do you know who did this? Detective Martinez asked. Brandon Miller and Tyler Rodriguez, Maya said clearly, and one other football player. I didn't see his face, but I heard Brandon and Tyler planning something all week. Other students heard them too. We'll need their names. Emma stepped forward from where she'd been waiting outside. I'll testify. I heard them. I saw everything they did to her all week. More students came forward over the next few days. Kids who'd been too scared to speak up before. Marcus shared his own experiences from the previous year, providing a pattern of behavior. The evidence piled up. Security footage showed Brandon and Tyler dragging Maya down the hallway Friday afternoon. It showed them jamming the locker. It showed them laughing as they walked away. By Monday morning, when Riverside High School reopened, Brandon Miller and Tyler Rodriguez were in police custody. The story spread like wildfire. Local news picked it up. Teen nearly dies after bullying incident at Riverside High. By Tuesday, it had gone national. Karate black belt shows restraint, nearly pays with her life. That detail, that Maya was a trained martial artist who could have defended herself but chose not to, captured everyone's attention. Maya stayed in the hospital for 3 days, recovering from dehydration and hypothermia. Students she'd never met sent flowers and cards. The school board launched an investigation into Riverside High's bullying policies. Principal Davis, who'd ignored the warning signs, was put on administrative leave. When Maya finally returned home, weak but healing, she found her driveway filled with news vans. Reporters wanted her story. They wanted to know why she hadn't fought back, why she'd shown such restraint. Maya's father handled them all with military precision, sending them away with a simple statement. My daughter showed more courage in that locker than most people show in a lifetime. She survived without becoming what they tried to make her. That's the real story. But there was one interview Maya agreed to do. A local reporter who'd been bullied herself as a kid. They sat in Maya's living room and the woman asked the question everyone wanted to know. You're a third-degree black belt. You could have defended yourself at any point during that week. Why didn't you? Maya was quiet for a moment, choosing her words carefully. My sensei taught me that a black belt isn't just about knowing how to fight. It's about knowing when not to. Every time they pushed me, I had a choice. I could hit back and prove them right, that I was violent, that I was the problem. Or I could show them that real strength is different than they thought. Even when it almost cost you your life? Even then, Maya said softly. Because if I'd fought them, I'd have lost who I am. And that would have been worse than dying. The interview went viral. Millions of views. Comments from people around the world who'd been bullied, who'd felt powerless, who found hope in Maya's story. But the real change happened at Riverside High. When Maya returned to school 3 weeks later, something had shifted. Students lined the hallways not to mock her or whisper about her, but to welcome her back. Someone had organized a Stand With Maya campaign. Purple ribbons for courage were everywhere. Principal Davis had been replaced by Dr. Jennifer Walsh, a woman who'd spent 20 years studying bullying prevention. She'd already implemented new policies, anonymous reporting systems, mandatory training for staff, student-led peer mediation groups, and she'd asked Maya to be part of it. I can't undo what happened to you, Dr. Walsh said in their first meeting, but I can make sure it never happens to another student. Will you help me? Maya thought about Marcus, who'd suffered alone. She thought about the fake social media posts, the isolation, the week of escalating cruelty. She thought about those hours in the darkness, wondering if anyone would ever find her. Yes, Maya said. I'll help. Brandon and Tyler's trial was set for the following spring. They'd been charged with false imprisonment, assault, and reckless endangerment. Their lawyers were already talking about plea deals, but Maya's family had made it clear there would be no easy way out. But Maya also did something unexpected. She wrote them letters, not forgiveness exactly, but something closer to understanding. What you did was wrong, she wrote. You almost killed me. But I know that hurt people hurt people. I don't know what made you into the kind of people who could do that to someone. Maybe your own pain, your own fears, your own insecurities. That doesn't excuse it. But maybe someday you'll understand that real strength isn't about power over others. She never got responses. She didn't expect to. 3 months after the incident, Maya stood in the new Riverside High gymnasium in front of a school assembly. Dr. Walsh had asked her to speak about her experience, to help launch the new anti-bullying initiative. Maya looked out at hundreds of faces. Some looked at her with pity, others with admiration, a few with guilt, probably wishing they'd done more to help. She saw Emma in the third row smiling encouragingly. Marcus sat beside her, and scattered throughout the crowd were dozens of other kids wearing purple ribbons, kids who'd decided to stand up instead of stand by.